A lot of businesses start with just a couple of friends trying to get something going, and it grows from their garage into a multi-trillion-dollar company like Apple, or it grows into something just absolutely amazing like Google. And it all starts with just a couple of founders, usually goofing around, trying to create something cool, maybe selling something they had before they had it. I know Bill Gates, he was selling his operating system before he even had it fully developed. And same thing with Apple. It was always vaporware, hoping that it would hold together in the presentation until they could actually figure out how to make it do what they just said it could do. Well, this company that I just interviewed, called Sendoso, with a founder, Braydan Young, absolute phenom. I mean, just an amazing character and someone who has done just that. You're going to hear in this next interview all about his beginnings, some of his biggest, most powerful, I would say, awakenings and growth and scaling. And you're also going to hear about some of his biggest challenges trying to grow and scale. And so I love his perspective. I think you're going to love it as well. Please check in the show notes for information about him and his company, because I think you're going to want to use his product or service for your business, because this product is amazing. He was an amazing guy. And I think you're going to love the insights that you're going to get from him when it comes to what he had to do to take his business from a couple of guys doing a swag shop into now a multinational corporation with warehouses worldwide and shipping 30,000 units a day. So take a look at this and we'll catch up with you at the end. Welcome to the What It Takes to Scale podcast. I'm your host, Todd Westra, and this is the place where we take CEOs and founders and we dive into their business and discover what key decisions they had to make in order to grow and scale their business. Welcome to the What It Takes to Scale podcast. Today we have an amazing guest, Braydan Young, who's coming to us all the way from Northern California, Marin area. If you're familiar with the area, gorgeous. Supposedly the hometown of mountain biking. And Braydan, we're so glad to have you on board today. Welcome to the show. My first ask of you is please tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Braydan Young. I am the co-founder, and I call myself head of growth of Sendoso, which is just a title you can use for startups because that doesn't really make sense. I do everything from sales to success to you name it. Yeah, right? What Sendoso is we are a gifting and sending platform. So we help companies send anything out from branded swag to e-gifts to cupcakes, you name it, to customers, to prospects, to employees. We do it all. And then we take all that information, we track it back into your CRM to show success with the power of direct mail.
So you are basically trying to link gift giving to actual revenue growth of the business.
Yeah, I mean, like the power of reciprocity is one that works really well. And we do a very good job of tracking emails, of tracking phone calls, but we didn't really nail the idea of tracking actual physical direct mail. Like none of that really lived in the CRM. And so we kind of draw a direct line to what happens with direct mail and push all the data back to you to show that, hey, this is just as successful, if not more successful than emails, ads, etc.
You literally are everyone's favorite types of people because you come in and you bring the good, and people love to receive goods all the time, right? I mean, is there anyone that doesn't like receiving swag?
I think so. We started with just $5 Starbucks gift cards, and it's amazing how powerful. We used to call it coffee centers. Okay, here's $5 at Starbucks, and like that was one of those things where folks are like, "This is great. Like, of course I'll take the meeting. Like, thanks, I can go grab a coffee." And that quickly turned into doing more than just coffee. It was like, how can I do physical things, or cupcakes, or socks was a big one for a couple years ago, or Yeti mugs. It depends on like what folks want to send, which is really great.
I love it. So as you've like taken this from start, how long ago did you start the business?
7 years ago we started it. The original plan was to leave it as hey, like let's see what we can do on our own and kind of self-fund it. But then we were like, we'll take a little money. And then we took a little more, and then a little more. And then like it was a much bigger issue or challenge that folks were having than we thought. So we kind of absorbed swag closets from companies. So we went from just me and my co-founder to now we're well over 500 people across the globe, have offices in more than 4 different countries, which is fun. I mean, it's fun to see the growth there. We went from 1 warehouse to 7, so having 7 warehouses is a fun system to figure out where all the stuff is. But like it's grown pretty fast, and one of the big things was we didn't think like COVID was one of those like silver linings for us where everyone went home, but everyone was like, hey, I want to send stuff first, and like or send stuff still. Like that was, we were in the right place at the right time for those last 3 years.
That is a good time to get embedded in these companies, because I don't think that anyone that noticed the advantage of sending gifts to people is going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Now, tell me though, like you've grown from you and your partner to 500 plus people, all these warehouses, all these locations, 4 countries. What's been the favorite part of that growth journey in your mind?
I think one of the big ones is really hiring. So when you start, you kind of hire your friends and you're like, okay, like, hey, like these are folks who are going to work for me and they're work with me. And then as you keep going, you figure out like, hey, I need somebody who has like these sets of skills. And like, it's really fun when you actually get to go out and hire and you're like, hey, our hiring plans are, let's just find the people and bring them in. So that was one of the really big ones. I would also say like moving from hey, like let's just get everything done, and if there's a problem, we all jump on it, to actually having a process and putting process in place at a startup is a very big pivotal moment for most startups. It's like, it's no longer like everyone all hands on deck. It's like, no, here we have steps that we take to solve like this sort of challenge or this sort of issue. And that was pretty fun to learn from, because I've always been anti-process. And so to learn how to actually put a process in place has been a really cool learning for us, for sure.
I mean, come on, you're a swag guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You go from being the swag guy into like, okay, we're delivering for how many deliveries a week now?
Yeah, I mean, we went from just having like a couple customers to well over, I think now we have well over like 5,000. So it's one of those things where it was like, hey, like we're sending out 30,000 plus packages a day, and we need to process when things go down. And that was a lot of learning. We weren't sure how to do warehousing. We figured that one out too. So that's a ton of process. So that all took time, and that was definitely with scaling. That was where we learned the most. Is you need to find people, experts that know how to do that process, because everyone's like, there's someone who's done this before, and so to find them and to bring them on board was really important for us early on.
I love it. Honestly, in this type of interview, I've interviewed lots of people, and they always say the biggest hurdle that they run into is like people, processes, and tools. And you happen to like be providing a tool, I would say, in some sense, but like,
absolutely,
you had to create this whole system. What was your biggest challenge? Like, did you hit revenue hurdles where you were just kind of like stuck? I mean, you mentioned that you raised a few rounds of money. Like, what did you do when you found yourself not losing money, but you're making money, but you're just not quite scaling the way you were envisioning?
Yeah, so the background for myself and my co-founders were both sales guys.
Awesome.
So our entire careers have been like, hey, like we've been AEs and SDRs, and so we knew how to sell. And so when we were first building the company, it wasn't built yet, but we were already selling it. So we were trying to get customers in line to be like, hey, like this is you sell them on the vision, like here's what we're building, here's why it's going to be fantastic. Get in line, pay us like pennies on the dollar. Once it's ready, we'll give it to you. And we had lined up probably 10 or 20 customers before the platform was even live. And so like that was a really good idea for sales, but the engineering side had to catch up to it, and the product side had to catch up to it. So that's really backwards to a lot of stuff.
Like you're probably the only founder that's ever done that.
like you have an amazing product, but like you don't have any sales, right? So like that's kind of one of the big things where you're like, oh, like I don't know, like how we're gonna go out and sell this thing, or the product's so great it'll sell itself. So we kind of had a different challenge there, and engineering had to catch up. And because like I can't code and my co-founder can kind of code, we needed to find resources and folks who can help us do that. So one of our biggest challenges with scale was how we were going to do that, and do it in a time when there were a lot of startups. I mean, back in like 2016, 2015, it was like the heyday. Everyone had their own concept, and VC money was flowing
all over.
So it was one of those things where like how you were going to do it, where you're going to find those folks. And so we did it abroad, and a lot of those folks still work for us in Lahore, Pakistan. And so we flew out there, basically built an office, built an amazing team, and like we got really good at wireframing early days, and they would build it at night. Next morning you'd have it. So early challenge was having a lot of sales with the product not there yet, but like knowing how to identify that, I think was important in the first year. And then from there, it's like once everything was even, you sort of like try to figure like, all right, like where do I want to invest? Like if you invest too much in engineering, not enough in sales, or vice versa. And so that was a challenge for us. I mean, it still is today. And I think every company has like that exact same problem.
So that was your first like big hurdle in scaling, but like were there points in when you were growing that you felt like, okay, what do we do next? I mean, how did you overcome that hurdle of, hey, we're making money, we're doing great, but should we go into this next country? Should we go into this next like niche?
Yeah.
What kind of challenges?
Yeah, I mean, like so what we did early on was we looked at our customers, especially our early, like those 20 customers who signed up before we had a product. We brought them on as advisors for us. We're like, hey, like our champion there, we were like, we want you to come help us build this platform out and let us know what you need. And that was massive to our success, because someone would be like, hey, I need you guys to operate and build a warehouse in Dublin or in Ireland, because that's where I do sending. We're like, all right, we got to figure that out. Or I need you guys to plug into ABC integration because all my sales team is using that. Like, how can we make that work? So like that was really important. The other side that we got lucky on was being sales folks. We knew like partnerships was key to our success. So the first couple of years until today, we lived in our partners' offices. So we were like, hey, like this is what we do. This is why it's great. So like sales guys would close deals for those partners. We'd be behind them being like, hey, do you think they need what we do? And so like you wanted to make all those folks advocates of yours. And that was, we knew that was the next step. And still, that's a major key to our success is like, hey, how can we make sure our partners love us and want to work with us? Because no one buys really on an island, especially now. And so you really want to have like that established. So anyways, that was like the front of the product. The warehousing, one whole different beast. We needed experts there because we didn't have the expertise there. That was to find the right people and hire the right people who knew how to scale that. And we knew that was a big piece that we needed to find.
So you not only were really focused on your client journey, but your customer journey became your huge referral engine.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, like there's one of those things like referrals were like, those are the best deals. I mean, I think that everyone knows that. I mean, if you're raising money, every time you're on the phone with a VC, you're like, hey, I see you're on these 3 boards. Do you think they'd want to use our product? And so I mean, like all that should be looked at as prospecting. I think and that was important to us, still is.
I love it. Did you get referrals from prospects that you didn't take their money from?
Like referrals from VCs?
Like from people who were interested in funding and you didn't actually take their money, but you said
I mean, like I think it's just it's kind of like you say no to a deal, but you get somebody to help you out. I think that like it's all worked out in the end. Maybe they came in a later round, or maybe we've made recommendations to friends and started companies.
Cool. Now, when you see other guys, because I know you have people like in your circle who are founders and they're trying to start business. Probably a lot of your clients are in this boat. But like when you see them struggling with what you dealt with, what's the first piece of advice you find yourself giving to your clients when they're trying to grow and scale?
I think a lot of it is, I mean, it changes as through the years, but I think in the early days, it's if you have an idea or a concept for a company, you tell everybody and you get your pitch right. Whether it's in a bar or out at a friend's like house or whatever, like you constantly are talking about it and seeing what people's reactions are. You're trying to adapt like what your pain points you're trying to solve. As you grow, a lot of folks have done this before. Your podcast is a good example of like people wanting to share information, and so people are willing to give information. It's like, hey, here's what I did when I went through this, and it's all advice,
right?
And so I think like the power of like something like a LinkedIn tool is if you find a founder who's in the space that you're in or trying to build in, to reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is why I think it's cool. Like, would you be willing to give me 5 minutes if I, send you a coffee, or if I, just say thank you or give you a recommendation? Like, people are typically willing to give it. I mean, like, especially in hubs, like where there's other startups or other tech companies, like most people are willing to give advice. It's like, hey, here's what I did. Like, take it or leave it. Like, this was awesome. And so that was the biggest one, is you don't need to do it on an island. You can ask for advice and ask for advisors, and you don't have to give equity. You don't have to give things like that or money. It's more as if people just want to help and see other people succeed.
People always assume that's what people want in exchange, right? And yet, to your point, like I was going to ask you, what do you do when you find yourself with questions you don't have answers to? Is there a mentor? Is there someone in your group that you kind of go to? How do you get that advice and input?
Yeah, I mean, like, so we have a So like those early customers that we brought on, like they've now jumped companies many times, and those people are still advisors for us.
Love it.
And so we ask them often about questions that we come across. Your VCs that you take money from, or people you talk to, typically have like people in residence there that can answer questions for you. You can reach out to folks that are in your space. I think even competitors are people that if you have a question that's like focused on the space and it's a big, massive question, like the TAMs we're all in are pretty massive. And so to have a question like, hey, this is what we're running into. Are you running into something similar? How can we, help each other solve this?
No kidding.
I think those are all important questions to ask. But it's important to be kind of an open book and to offer the same advice back. Yeah, I think that's important for any advisor that you might have.
I love it. Now, this has been a fantastic interview, and I gotta ask you kind of the fun question. Yeah, because people are always asking me from a marketing perspective, are opt-ins still relevant? What's the last opt-in you actually got on and filled out your information on before you got any information from someone back?
Like the last ime opt-in saying, hey,
some pop up on a window.
Man, I don't even know. I think that like maybe with I was looking at insurance today, like homeowners insurance, and you have to like opt into all these things. So like, it's what's funny about it is like I'm willing to spend money, and you opt in for like emails to get from those folks, and the content and the marketing there is horrible. And so like it's one of those things where but you have to opt in for them to actually converse with you. And like I don't even read it, I just click the button and move on. But like that's actually a good question that like I just don't think it's really relevant anymore, for being honest. That's good. But I fall to the extreme of like I like to share information. Like I wish Netflix would be like, hey, you've been watching Netflix for 3 hours, like you want to get a pizza? Like we'll send one to you in DoorDash. I think like that's information. Dude, I love to share that.
That's a great product hack. I love that. That's maybe there's an API that you could get to, hey, if viewer has viewed this many hours straight, send me.
Right? I mean, Amazon's close, where it's like, hey, like we noticed you haven't gone grocery shopping in probably a week, so you probably have no food. So you want to order some dinner tonight? Like, here's an option for you.
I love it. Braydan, thank you so much for your time today. This has been an awesome interview. I know people are going to get some value out of this. And just anything else you want to leave us with to kind of close, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, like my hello at Sendoso goes directly to me and to my co-founder Chris. Like awesome. It's actually a bug in the we haven't figured out how to fix that yet. So use it, email us if you have questions. We're there. I mean, like if you haven't tried gifting things yet to customers, I mean, it's easy to do. It's like a lot of sites are free. So give that a shot, see how customers respond or prospects respond. And I think that once you're ready to go to the extreme with it, give us a call.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much for your time, man. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
So what did you think? That was awesome, wasn't it? I just loved his personality. I loved his business model. I mean, give me a break. 4 countries, hundreds of employees. I mean, this is actually one of the most amazing growth ventures I've ever heard of in this type of niche. Most swag companies rarely get bigger than a few people, maybe a couple salespeople, and that's about all they get to. But he was creative. He was insightful. He talked to the right people. He aligned himself with strategic funding partners as opposed to just raising dumb money. And I loved what he did. Take it, implement it. I hope this helps you learn what you need to do, give you some insights into how you can scale and grow your business. And we are glad we could be a part of your help. Move forward, grow that business. Thanks so much for listening in. We'll catch you on the next episode.